It's good to see everybody. Um, we're we're obviously we're past the second practice of the week now for Utah State. Um, Trying to get as healthy as we can get with some guys banged up on both sides of the ball. Um, Thought the practice this morning was okay. Wasn't great, but it was okay. Um, Challenge right now is to get our team refocused after what was a very emotional and very dramatic win. But that is long gone, and we need to get back to work. Um, this is a good football team that we're facing. They've been a little bit inconsistent lately. I mean, you look at the ups and downs that they've had throughout the course of the season, and some of them are, even for me, I will admit, are a little bit head-scratching. But I anticipate that we're going to see a very motivated Utah State team that's clicking on all cylinders. That's what we're counting on. They play very well at home. Road trip for us, so we got our work cut out for us. Coach Wells, I have a lot of respect for Matt. He's a good man. He's a good football coach. He's done an outstanding job. The job that he did, over the last couple of years with the amount of quarterbacks that they've had, come in and out and guys getting hurt, and they've done a fantastic job. He's an offensive. He's a really sharp offensive mind. You can see his input on that side of the ball. I think they're very creative. I think that they have a couple of playmakers that concern us. Offensively, they're going to run the ball. They're going to get into a bunch of different personnel groupings and formations to do it. The quarterback is good enough to make plays with his feet, and then they are unbelievable in terms of creating explosive plays. You look at last week, 3 of their 4 touchdowns are long shots in one-on-one coverage. Just chuck it up there and let their very talented receivers go run underneath it, and that's going to be a challenge for us. We've got to keep the ball in front of us. Hunter Sharp, I think, is their best player, the number 4, the 6-foot, 200-pound wide receiver. He's electric. He makes plays every week. The touchdown catch he made last week at Air Force was exceptional. He's a very, very talented player. Kent Myers, 6-foot, 195-pound sophomore quarterback. You can see his development from last year to this. He can make plays with his feet. He can pull it in the run game and hurt you. He's doing a very nice job of throwing the ball down the field and giving his receivers a chance to go make a play. He's a pretty good football player. And then, the 2 backs, Hunt and Mays, a little bit different. Hunt's 5'8", 190. But then you look at Mays, 5'11", 220. He's a big old dude. North and south runner, hard to get down. So as it relates to their offense, very, very talented group, explosive, and we've got to do our best to try and limit those explosives. Defensively, they're another 3-4 team, another odd front. We've seen a bunch of those this year. They're sound. They're not as exotic as some of the other teams that we faced this year in terms of the array of different pressures and bringing people from everywhere. Not that they're not creative, they're just not crazy in the way some of the other teams are. The thing that sticks out to me about these guys is that they're really sound, they're well coached, and they're stout. They got some big dudes in the front. I think Vigil, the linebacker, 41, might be the best linebacker in the league. I've been really impressed with his film. He can really run around sideline to sideline. He can take on blocks. He's got great football IQ. He's a really impressive player. Fackrell, number 9, is a hybrid outside linebacker, defensive end. He's the type of guy that you would have seen at BYU, 6'5", 250, playing a 2-point stance, rush the passer, very talented player. Moala, the 300-pound nose tackle, is a good player. Nielsen, who I guess is also on the Burlsworth Award watch list, is starting his career as a walk-on, is a really, really good player. I think both safeties, Evans and centers, are good players. They're not as big as some of the guys that we've seen throughout the course of the year, but they'll run downhill and hit you. In the kicking game, they blocked 2 kicks this year. Both led to scores. I think Rodriguez is a great punt returner. They got good people. They got good people. I can't explain the 5-5, to be honest with you, because I think they're better than that, and they got better personnel. So it will be, it will be interesting. We have our work cut out for us. So, with that, we'll take any questions.
How have you seen their offense change under Myers compared to when Keaton was running the show?
To be honest with you, I don't know if I can answer that accurately. I mean, what I've done, it's impossible for us to watch every game of the season at this point. By the end of the week, we will have seen every game, but to get that all done in Sunday, Monday is impossible. So I really focus on the last 4 or 5 games. And, I have incredible respect for Chucky. He's a great player. I know he's suffered a bunch of injuries. I give Matt credit for making the move, because that had to be difficult. It had to take some courage. But, I can only truly speak to what they're doing now with Myers in a game.
I guess it's beneficial that Myers played a lot last year because Keaton was hurt. And
Mm-hmm.
how have you seen him progress from last year to this year?
He's working through his pass progressions better. Last year it was, if the first look wasn't there, tuck it and go, which happens with a lot of young athletic quarterbacks. But he's working through his progressions better. He's throwing the ball down the field more accurately. And he's always been athletic. He's always been a guy that could make plays with his feet. So, he's growing in the way that you expect a freshman who's become a sophomore to make leaps. You can see that he's well coached and that he's developing.
Talk about the explosive plays. Who's going to be the biggest challenge for in defense to make sure that they
DBs. We got to keep the ball in front of us. There's no defense that you can call that can handle the ball getting thrown over your head. Doesn't matter what you play. You got to keep the ball in front of us, and that's going to be the challenge. And that's been the challenge for every team that Utah State has played, because every game there are multiple shots, one-on-one, thrown down the field, and they're creative in the way that they try and get to them. So, that's going to be the challenge. And I tell you what, Air Force got a good football team. Obviously, I think they're first in the other side of the division, but Air Force just kept going out there one-on-one and pressuring. And, Utah State would max protect, pick up the blitz, have a one-on-one, and they threw about 6 or 7 shots down the field. And you may say, well, 4 were incomplete. Yeah, but there were 3 long touchdown passes too. So, that's going to be a big challenge for us. Keep the ball in front of us.
What have you heard about playing at Utah State? I know you haven't played there yourself, but what have you heard about their atmosphere?
Actually, not much, to be honest with you. I'm not sure there's anybody on the staff at our place that's going to know it. Nick might know it through recruiting. To be honest with you, have we played there? Brad would know? Yeah, so, I know from watching on TV and from studying film, it looks like it's a pretty cool crowd, and that, they always seem to have people in the seats, and they got a nice looking end zone facility. I'd take one of those. So yeah, I don't know. My experience going into the state of Utah is always positive. The BYU fans were great fans. They're a lot of fun. I wouldn't imagine that the environment would be much different at Utah State. So,
do you feel like you have to get to 7 wins and guarantee yourself to get to a bowl game?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I want to get to 7 wins because we're playing this weekend, and that would be number 7. As it relates to the bowl, I can't speak to that. That landscape is constantly changing. There was a time a couple of weeks ago that taking a look at it, I thought six would guarantee you a spot. I'm not sure that that's the case now. I think, as we've seen, New Mexico beat Utah State and beat BYU. Nobody was going to look. How many people besides Coach Davey were looking at the schedule saying, that's going to happen? So there are a bunch. I believe Colorado State needs to win one more. Utah State's got to win one more, and San Jose would have to win 2 more. I think that's kind of where it's at right now, and I believe there are 5 already at 6 wins. But people forget that if other leagues come up short, there's so many moving parts. I would like to go win number 7 and not have to worry about it, ideally. But we're not talking about that as it relates to this game. We're just talking about trying to be 1-0 at the end of the weekend, like we always try to be.
The explosiveness on offense, is that more attributed to the scheme or just the personnel that they have?
The scheme is a part of it, but it's personnel driven. And I don't say that disrespectfully. I mean, they have good coaches, but there are people all over the country that are running similar stuff that don't have a 6-foot, 200-pound receiver that runs by everybody. And he and number 3 do a great job of tracking the ball as it's in the air. We see it all the time. A guy gets a half step on a DB and just can't track it, and it comes over his shoulder just off a fingertip. These guys do an unbelievable job of making plays on the deep balls, and it's really impressive. And I think their perimeter skill is the best part of their personnel-wise is the best part of their offense.
You guys have faced a lot of teams that want to run the ball, establish the run. Is this going to be maybe one of the biggest challenges for your cornerback sets in your secondary?
Well, I think this team wants to run the ball, but instead of throwing a play-action dig at 14 yards, they're going to throw a play-action go and try and complete a 60-yard bomb. That's what makes them a little bit different, but they want to run the ball. They got good size in the offensive line, and like I said, 2 good backs and a quarterback. To be honest with you, the run game's not too dissimilar from what we do here. I don't think that should be a gigantic stretch for our guys to defend in terms of the concepts. We still have to try and win physical battles, but it's probably, to be honest with you, it's probably been since A&M and Arizona since we've seen receivers of this quality, and that will be a challenge.
The linebackers obviously put up a lot of big stats. Is that more attributable to their skill, or does the defensive line do a good job of keeping the offensive line off of those guys, and is that kind of where it starts with this
You speaking to Vigil?
Yeah, both him and Fackrell to
Yeah.
some degree.
Well, they're 2 different animals because, the big guy's on the outside, so he's on the edge of the defense. Vigil it's him. He's the real deal. He's the real deal. I watch him on film and think that he could play in a lot of places in the Pac-12 very easily. That's him. Their scheme's got something to do with it, but everybody's scheme helps, certain positions. He's an incredibly talented player, very talented.
You kind of mentioned the inconsistencies with them. Is it just come down to the big shots, and some games they hit them and some games they don't?
I think that's part of it. I think it's, if they're connecting on those deep shot plays, it's hard. If they're not connecting, it's a little bit different. And then it's ball security too. You look at the New Mexico game, and they turned the ball over, going in on about the 10-yard line, mishandled the snap, and New Mexico was able to recover. That's a 14-13 game. So at the very least, you're going to walk away with a field goal, you would think. So it's look, here's the other thing too. As it relates to us and our fans, people are frustrated because they'll look at our schedule thus far and see probably the same 2 games that I see and be frustrated with the outcome and that we didn't play well. In Boise, they're probably scratching their head saying, how did we lose to New Mexico? Utah State goes down to New Mexico and loses. People lose sight of the fact that these are still 18 to 22-year-old young people. And, sometimes you have to deal with the ups and the downs. It's really good for people this age to play really high level of football consistently. I mean, it's hard anywhere in the country. I mean, you look at Alabama. Alabama loses to Ole Miss. Ole Miss loses to Memphis. I mean, it's what makes college football great. It really is any weekend somebody can get beat because we are dealing with young people that so it's I don't know what to. I can't speak to the issues at Utah State. I have no clue. I can only tell you as an observer. You can't. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you can't help but scratch your head a little bit because you see some of these weapons and you see days that it just doesn't click, and then you see other days that they score in the mid-50s on Boise. How do you explain that away? I can't. I'm just I can tell you we're expecting their best shot, and that'll be a big challenge for us. So.
There's a feature this week on Lenny Jones. Tell me how much he's transformed as a person from the day you first met him till today.
Light years. I mean, he's the maturity he's shown probably in the last year or so has been really incredible. He's grown up a lot. He's become a guy that you worried about. Is this guy going to be here for meetings? Is he going to be here on time? Is he going to, when he comes into the weight room today, is he going to be focused or is he going to be, ready to start a fight with the strength coach? To now, he is. He's a leader. He's an example. He's a guy. He's a model. We point to him and say, "Do it like him." The transformation has been really fun to be a part of, and to be honest with you, watching guys like Lenny and Don and any number of others, the way that they've grown in the time that we've been here, is really one of the most rewarding parts of coaching college football. The wins and losses are great, and the X's and O's in the competition, but the relationships with young people and watching them grow and develop, and hopefully having some small part in that development, having some small influence, is really the most rewarding thing about being at this level. And Lenny's a great example of that.
When do you think the turn came or the light bulb went on for him?
Spring of last year. Actually, no, I take that back. Lenny, from game 6 through 12 or 13 last year, was our best defensive player. From the middle of the season last year through the end of the year, he was our most productive player. He made the most splash plays. He it felt like the light came on about, October of last year, middle of October, and it has stayed on. He had a great spring, great summer. He dealt with some injuries in training camp, but as he got back towards the start of the year, he's playing really well. He's been a really good leader, an energetic guy. He's been everything that we could have hoped for this year, and I hope that I know that Lenny dreams of trying to play professionally, and I think that what he's done here between the end of last year and this season has helped his stock go up. I know that every scout that comes through now is asking about him, and I hope that he can get into an all-star game. I'll certainly help every way I can, and when this season's done, I hope that Lenny gets a shot to chase his dream, because I think he deserves it.
How do you explain how he's become such a leader? Some different examples of what he does to be a leader.
He's always had that personality that people will follow. The question is, where was he leading them? Was he leading them in the right direction or in the wrong direction? And clearly this year, his energy in the locker room, the meeting room, knowing when it's okay to crack a joke and make everybody smile a little bit, and knowing when it's time to rally the troops and get them focused up. His energy throughout the summer in the weight room and on the field training. Maddock raved about what a job he did. His body has transformed in the last 2 years that we've seen him, from being a guy that was maybe a little bit overweight and not as muscular as you want him to be, to now a big, strong 275-pound man, 70-pound man. He's kind of pushed all the right buttons this year, which has been fun to watch, including Saturday, when he decided it was time to pull the defense up and express himself. And he had a great line. He came to Coach Tierlink afterwards and said, "When you guys yell like that, does your head hurt too?" Like, yeah, man, take an Advil and let's go. That's how it goes. But he's been great. He's been great.
How gratifying is it to see a guy like him get a chance to win on senior day?
Looking back on it, I'm happy for all the seniors, and he's a big part of that group. But he played exceptionally well in the game. I think I don't know if the fans realize, because it wasn't sack production, right? I mean, everybody notices sacks, but 3 tackles for a loss and 2 of them save us. On a reverse, he swipes an ankle, and then in overtime, the quarterback's scrambling, and Lenny gets him down because I'm not sure he's not going to make the first down if Lenny doesn't get him down. So thrilled for him to go out that way, just like we were for all the other seniors, but hopefully we got a lot more football in front of us. Good? All right. Thank you. This is for me? It ain't for him.
Questions for Don?
You know, 2 games left in the season. Is it kind of hitting you that, you know, time's kind of running out on your time here and your career's kind of winding down?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to make the best of what I got now. I'm just trying to, now we're in a position where hoping we could play 2 more, trying to play 3 more possibly. So everybody's got the right mindset, and that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to make sure I spread the wealth on the guys around me, make sure everybody else is, understands what we do got left and what's in front of us and the goals that we've set for in front of us, and we're just trying to go out every day and work towards those goals.
You guys have obviously been more consistent, won 3 games in a row. Has anything changed as far as why you guys have been able to string some wins together and, play, pretty well every game out now?
I think preparation-wise, it's just been the same. I feel like guys are still coming out to work and preparing the same exact way every single week. I think a lot of our guys are playing a lot more poised, and just in game situations, just in the game. Things that the X's and O's about it. Yeah, we can get schemed to do whatever, but at the end of the day, the players have got to play, and I think a lot of our guys are starting to understand that, and I think that's what's been carrying us a little bit of momentum right now.
You and James are both within 100 yards of hitting 1,000. What would it mean to see both you guys hit that mark, especially in the same game?
It'd be big. It'd be real big. I think when we run the ball well, we win games. So that's what me and JB pride ourselves on. Our whole room, actually. If we can be the heartbeat of the offense and we can go, have a successful game, then successful running the ball, then most times we win that game. So, and we use that as motivation every single week as we go out there. But it'll be great. I'm excited for JB, to be young and to be able to get 1,000 yards. So I'm excited to see where that takes him in the future too.
What makes him so difficult to get down? It seems like, obviously not the tallest guy, but the first defender usually can't get him down to the ground.
It's because he puts his body on the line to break tackles. And that's sometimes I don't do, a lot of backs don't do. Sometimes a lot of backs, give their punch and then that's it. He's a guy who he'll fight to the whistle blows. I think it's hard for people to see him too when he pops out of a hole and no one sees him. He gets to bring a full-on punch to somebody's mouth. So I think that's what helps him out a lot more too.
Doing a story on Lenny Jones, how have you seen him transform over the last couple of years?
To me, he's been the same guy. We've always been been tight since day one, since I got here, and I think I've just seen him he has a lot more clarity. I think he understands situations now, and now he knows how to react to certain things. Maybe before that he didn't. He acted off instinct instead of maybe thinking. And I think now that he's to a point to where everybody looks to him for wisdom, everybody looks to him for him to lead. He gives off knowledge, and I think that he embraces that people come to him about it, and that just helps him be a better human being. And I think he's just grown into just a role of being the guy that everybody's going to need to go to. Because even when I'm struggling and I need stuff, that's who I go to. So, like I said, I don't think he's changed much as a person. I just think he's learned how to handle a lot more situations, and he's embraced the things around him instead of kind of fighting it.
When you look at Utah State's defense, the linebackers coach said Vigil could be Pac-12. I think Fackrell was a preseason Defensive Player of the Year. When you look at that core, how good are they?
They're good. I don't see a face, though. I don't see a face or a name. I see a jersey number, and I try to just go play football against them. They're talented guys. Watching film, these are guys that fly around. But you can't get too caught into everything else that's on paper. You kind of just got to study film and just worry about what you can control. I can't control how good he is across the ball. I can just control how hard I run the ball and how smart I am in pass protection. So, yeah, I'm not taking anything away from them. They're great guys, both talented. But I try not to worry about that as I go into games. And I think most of us do. We try not to.
You said you're one of those guys that kind of thrive on going on the road, going into the other team's house.
Yeah.
When you look at the schedule, Utah State's undefeated at home, San Diego State, number one in this side of the bracket. What kind of challenge is that to go on the road these final two games?
I mean, I could just put it like this. Wins are so hard to come by in college football. Like, they're really hard. And it's going to be tough anywhere you play. If you're going to play at home, you're going to play away. But I think it's a challenge that we matured and we're ready for. I'm excited to see how guys go out there and react because, like I said, I like when we're on the road. I feel like it's us against the world factor, and I think that that plays to our advantage. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this challenge. I think the rest of the guys are too.
Do you think this team, the way you're playing right now, is better suited for this challenge than maybe you were a month and a half ago?
Yeah, it's continuing to just development. We've learned so much over the season, and we're still learning. There's still so much to learn, and yeah, I for sure use the team now than what the team was before. But that's what Coach P always talks about: just continuing to just get better, never being okay with mediocre or never being okay with just complacency. Like, we got to continue to move forward, and I think people are stepping up to that challenge and people want to get better. I think today at practice, guys are running around like with a purpose to get better. And I mean, I know that we have a game. A lot of people can save themselves, but people are running around with a purpose. Vets, young guys, everybody's just running around with a purpose. So I'm excited.
The fact that you guys were able to get the job done at the end of the game, winning in overtime, does that give you confidence to succeed in those situations moving forward for the rest of the season?
Yeah, because I think that's the first time together in 3 years, I think, since I've been here, that we've made it happen when we've gotten into that situation to where when we need to go score to go win a game, or we need to stop to go win a game. I think that's one of the first times we did it, or at least where we complimented each other to where the defense got the stop and the offense went to go score to win the game. So, I mean, I'm happy. I can say that for sure. But I think guys learn that, in situations like that, we can do it. I think a lot of people really understand, have faith in themselves. Tyler has faith in himself now. The offensive line has faith that, they can push guys across, and when we really need to make something happen, we can. So I think that's just more experience for, everybody on the team, offensive and defensively. I think that's just experience that we can, when we really need to make things happen, we can make it happen.
Anything else for Tom? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, can I take this? Do this.
What's up, guys?
Coach Polian was raving about their perimeter guys, said probably best in the league. I guess when you look at film with Utah State's wide receivers, what do you see?
They definitely have speed. I'd say number 4 is probably one of the faster dudes that we probably face, besides Texas A&M probably, and maybe Arizona. But 4 and 3, they definitely have speed. But they have good receivers, I'd say. Very talented, Just got to play some football, keep our eyes in the right place. Try to eliminate the passing game because they do make big plays in the air down the field. So eliminate those and just play football.
Seems like they kind of ride or die with their explosive plays in the passing game. They don't do a lot of intermediate stuff. I mean, is that a challenge that you look forward to, knowing that you're going to be tested a couple times? You know that going in.
I mean, playing corner, you always feel like you're gonna get tested multiple times a game. But big play wise, there's always gonna be people trying to attempt to throw the ball down the field and make big plays in passing games. So I just feel like every other game, you gotta eliminate the big plays through the air and just try to just play football.
When you look at your team now as a whole compared to 5-6 weeks ago, what's been the difference? What's been the change?
I said playing complementary football. Not just defense plays well, picks up the offense, or offense plays well, picks up the defense. I think we're playing well in all facets of the game, special teams, offense, defense. So I think playing complementary football has just been the key for us, and that's why we're finishing games.
The way you finished that last game, I mean, what does that do for a team's confidence? Maybe besides if you'd have beat them by 14 or something, the way you won that game, what does that do for a team?
I think winning such a close game in overtime, of course, obviously everybody's emotional about it. Yeah, I think that was our first overtime win since I've been here and since Coach Polian's been here. So I think that just builds confidence because, when you go three years without winning, in a close fourth quarter or overtime, you're kind of just like, oh, like we can't get it done in the end. And then when you finally do, it's kind of just like, all right, well, maybe we are different. Maybe we can, win some close games. So I think confidence has just gone up, and when you play with confidence, you play well.
You guys created a lot of turnovers this season. You didn't have any in the last game, but I guess what are you guys doing well when you're creating the turnovers versus in the games that you're not?
I think running to the ball. When you run to the ball and getting tackled, multiple passes on the ball, then they come out. Or when you pressure the quarterback, like our D line does so well. A quarterback's run makes a not such a great throw, and that's when it gets intercepted. So you can run to the ball, poking it out, and just rushing the quarterback. That's how turnovers you can cause. And I think we've done a good job doing that this year, and obviously created a ton of turnovers.
All right, thanks, Elijah.
Thank you.
Questions for Tyler?
Some on James Butler. What has he brought to the offense this season?
This season, I definitely think he has grown, just like all the players that have come back this year that played last year, and he's been a great part of that 1-2 punch that we have in the backfield with Don and him, and he just really has a big heart, and you see it on the field when he plays, and that's the only way I could describe him.
Where do you see that big heart, just breaking runs and
Everything, not only just running the ball, but pass protecting, getting in piles. Like when we were in the two-back set against San Jose, when Don was running the ball, he's going to block for Don, and if Don's in a pile, he's one of the first people in there to try to push the pile, and he's just that type of thing, and helping people up off the ground when we got other guys that ran the ball or caught the ball, whatever sense that is.
It seemed like you guys used more tempo in the San Jose State game. I guess, is that fair? And is that part of the reason?
I think we've used tempo pretty much all year. Wyoming, we used it a good amount too. I want to say it works. It's been working pretty well for us. So we use it in spurts when we think we got something going pretty good. And I think we've used it all year. I wouldn't say in the first drive. That's probably the most we've used it in the first drive, was the tempo stuff. But no, we've used it all year.
When you look at Utah State, what stands out about their defense? Where are they strong?
I mean, they're pretty strong all over the place. Their defense ranks pretty high in every category. They have a lot of guys that played a lot of football. I don't think they have too many sophomores or freshmen. A lot of sophomores or freshmen. They have either a lot of juniors or seniors playing. So they just have a lot of guys that know what they're doing and know where they need to be on each and every play, and they're a sound group. So I would just say that's why they do so well.